Okay, let's say we want to move this object around. Okay, so currently now, one of the things we haven't talked about to this point yet is the fact that if you notice at the bottom of the interface, there's a timeline here. And Maya typically looks at things in terms of frames rather than seconds or hours or what have you. So that might be a bit of a mental shift, but as we do visual effects work, frames really are going to be the thing that we really care about the most. So just kind of start to make that mental shift for yourself. Right now we're on frame 1, okay? And it says so right here in the lower left. And let's say I want to have this object. I'm going to go back to object mode. Okay, let's say I want to have this thing move around. I need to tell it where to go. So on frame 1, let's say, I'm going to tell it to be here. But so I'm going to create what we call a keyframe. And the keyframes are just specific frames that over the course of time, your objects are told to be at specific places at specific times, maybe with specific rotation values or sizing values, things like that. You know, all of those things can be keyframed. So right now, you can see over here, this is the channel box, and this is the editor for it. Right now, everything's at 000, scales at 1, so that it hasn't moved at all. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit create a keyframe. Okay, there's a couple of different ways to do that. I'm going to show you both. Okay, right here, if I'm just holding down the left mouse button, and I've selected just the translate values. That's the movement values, and I'm just going to right click on it and I'm going to say key selected. Okay. Now you can see that as soon as I did that, these were highlighted in red, which means they have keyframes on them. You'll also note that down in the timeline, we got a little red slash down there, letting us know that there's a keyframe on frame 1. Now, that's a way to do it. And I only specifically did keyframes on just the translate values, but you can do just a broad keyframing for everything just by hitting the S key. Okay, so if I hit S, now I've created a keyframe on everything. So translate, rotate, and scale all get. You'll also note that there is a visibility that's either on or off. Now let's say I'm just gonna move this thing to frame 50, and I'm gonna hit the W key here, right? And I'm gonna move it up. Okay, and so you'll see that my numbers in the translate Y section have changed, and that's just to let me know that it's moved up 1.6 units on the Y axis. Okay, now before I create another keyframe, I want to make a note that you can see right here, everything is pink. That pink lets you know that there is animation in that channel, just not on that frame. So pink is just alerting you to the fact that animation exists. Red tells you there's actually animation on that particular frame. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hit S again, and now I've got a keyframe on all that. So if I scroll through the timeline, you'll see between 1 and 50, it's moving up and that sort of thing, right? As I move over here to the right, you'll see that there are kind of playback buttons for this. So if I just go and hit play, it's just going to play it back for me. Oh, wow, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, it's my first animation. So that's just a playback at real time. So you can see right here, it says 24 frames per second. 24 frames per second in the film world equals one second of footage. Now, also, you'll see these other buttons right here, with the orange ones. That allows me to either move forward or backward in the timeline just by clicking it. It'll hit the keyframes that exist. So if I hit back, it's going to go to 50. If I hit back again, it'll go to 1. And if I go forward, it goes to 50, etc. Right? That'll make sense, I'm sure. And then on the far left and far right here are beginning and end frames. So if I hit this one, it goes to 1. If I hit this one, it goes to 120, which is the end of what we can see. Now, one of the things that I want to point out here is the fact that you can do it by setting keyframes for every movement that you do. And that's cool. It's a very legitimate way to do it. It's actually a very safe way to handle it. There is another one down here. There is, it's this plus with the arrows that are kind of circling around it. So I'm going to click that. It's called, that's auto keyframe. Okay. I like it. And I hate it all at the same time because it's super functional. It's super easy. It'll just set keyframes for you as you move stuff around. So you're not having to do that. It makes animation maybe a little bit more fluid when you do that. It can also be a real pain in the butt if you forget that it's on and you start moving things around and then you start setting random keyframes where you never expected to do that. So just something to bear in mind and something to be mindful of. But let's say, okay, I'm on frame 90. I'm just scrolling through here and great. I want to move it around and it's going to go over here. Cool. Just set myself another keyframe. And then I'm going to go to 120 and I'm going to go over here. So I'm going to just let it play through. Wow. That is just best animation work I've ever done. Just so we understand each other. Okay, so that's it's okay, it's working. But I want to point out something here. Okay, I'm going to go to frame 120 here, right at the very end. And instead of being at wherever this random placement is, let's say I want to be really specific about where it's supposed to be. I can go up into the channel box here and I can numerically input what I want. So right now it's at 0.32, -246, blah, blah, blah. Let's say I want to set this thing back to 0. I'm just going to type 0, hit enter, tab, which will bring me down to the next field, 0 again, tab, and it's now back to everything. So that's because my auto keyframe is on, it's resetting everything to the exactly where I want it to be. So that's, technically speaking, I've shown you 3 or 4 different ways to keyframe things. You can numerically input it up here, right mouse click it and set a keyframe. You can hit the S key, which will do it. You can auto key. And so there's a number of different ways of actually setting keyframes for yourself. So that's the important part of this. Okay, so one other thing, if you do want to delete your keyframes, the easiest way to do that is there's actually about 5 different ways to do it, but this is a pretty easy way to do it. Just go to whatever keyframe you want, and you got to be on the keyframe. So just hit the button, drop to say 90 here, for example. Then you can just right mouse click over the number and hit delete, and it will go away. So one of the things that I'm actually doing here also is letting you know that Maya's got a bunch of hidden menus, and you wouldn't know they don't. Maya's a bit of a quirky program, so sometimes there are menus. I've shown you the marking menu here. There's another menu here, and there's a completely different menu up in here. So, and these are all left mouse clicks. But if you don't know that they exist, then you're not going to know that you can click on them. So, those are important ones to have.
If you're enjoying our free content, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, head on over to DMI.edu to learn more about our online courses, where you can grow even more into the techniques professionals use today. We don't just teach software, we teach industry. Be sure to learn more at DMI.edu.